Hey gang, it's JC and this is your Daily Dose for Friday, July 2nd, 2010, a cooperative venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. We're twisting by the pool here today, got a 15-month paid vacation going, and the sun is making my eyes funny today, so I got the hat and sunglasses on, so I apologize if you don't like that. We still got the hamstring all taped up, but here we go. Now, I guess you would call this a special edition of the Daily Dose today because I only have two topics to cover. And let's start with this one, and this takes a lot of explaining, but I want you to try to follow this with me, okay? So I scour the internet on a regular basis to just look for cool stuff to talk to you about, and I found this, and I had no idea that this was going on last November. Let me set it up for you. One of the sports stations in town, 101 ESPN, was getting rid of they were getting rid of Pat Paris, and they were looking for a new co-host of the show with Brian Burwell. So they said, we're conducting a nationwide search. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? And they actually ran this on their radio station website. And I think it popped up in a couple of other places too. So you got Brian Burwell, and then you got this silhouette, this mystery silhouette right there. You see that with a question mark on it right now? I want you to remember that. Because now, and again, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know this was going on last November. So now, I want to show you this. This is one of the pictures of me that I use as a press photo, and that's on the internet, okay? So now, I go to a website called punchingkitty.com, and they looked at my photo, and then they looked at the ad that I just showed you, and guess what? The silhouette is the identical silhouette of the cutout of that picture of me. This is not paranoia. This is not an inflated sense of self-importance. That's my head. So now the question is, why did they do it? Who was responsible for it? And what were they trying to get out of it? So I suppose it could have been somebody just having a little bit of fun, you know, because look at this. There it is. There it is. That's, even the guys at punchingkitty.com said, look, that's Corcoran's head right there. They cut out the silhouette of his head. They put it next to Burwell. They're trying to make it seem like JC's going to work at 101 ESPN. Look at it again. Okay? By the way, I'm posting this as the eye candy today. So could it have been somebody just having a little bit of fun? Or it could have been a deliberate attempt to mislead everybody into believing that I was on my way to 101 ESPN, which I was not. And this is not the first time that something like this has happened, by the way. Way back, I want to say 10, 15 years ago, I don't know what it was, Smash was doing mornings at Casey, and he said, oh, we got a guy coming back here, and you know him, he used to work here, he was a real big deal, and he's coming back, and he's coming back, and he clearly led everybody to believe that I was coming back to work at Casey. There's only one problem. Years ago, when Smash was doing the morning show over there, they had like one of those little electronic alarm clocks where you'd push the button and an electronic voice would go, it's 8:31. And the program director said, that's fucking stupid, get it off the air. Well, that's what they were bringing back. They brought back Mr. Tick-Tock. But they had everybody believing that I was coming back to work. Then it happened again when Steve and DC were on Q106, and they said, hey, guess what? JC's back. He starts next week on the midday show, so everybody listen to JC. JC will be on the air next week. Well, of course, everybody's listening going, oh, JC's going to work on the Steve and DC station. And when you tuned in at 10 o'clock, there was a lovely woman by the name of Christy Carson, and the radio station, Q106, had changed her name to JC. And of course, people got duped. Now, if I'm a listener and I get duped like that, I get pissed, okay? But there's a larger issue involved in all of this. You know, last October, the radio stations sort of insinuated that they were pulling the plug on the show because we just weren't a big deal anymore, okay? So since then, the ratings are down. Somebody at the station told me that there's 400,000 fewer people going to their website every month. 400,000! You know, the story of my departure from the radio station was on the front page of the Business Journal. It's on page 3 of the Post-Dispatch. It was in the, either the second or third or fourth news story on all the 10 o'clock TV news stations. The radio station has gotten thousands of complaint calls and emails about what they did. The Ladue News runs a readers poll 2 months ago, and I come in second place. I hadn't had a radio show for 7 months, and I come in second. Every TV station, many radio stations keep calling me wanting to be on their shows. I can't do anything because I'm under contract. And we're running this website now, and it's getting almost 100,000 page views every month. So I guess my question for the old station is, are you absolutely sure I'm not as big a deal as you thought I was? Alright, let's move on to something else, as Martin Dugan would say. This, in addition to being my wife's birthday, today, July 2nd, just happens to be the 30th anniversary of the release of the movie Airplane. One of the funniest movies ever made. Now, I know a lot about this because, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I just happened to move to Milwaukee, which is where Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker, the guys who made Airplane, that's where those guys are from, and they were absolute gods in Milwaukee. This is the biggest thing that ever happened in Milwaukee, probably the second biggest thing that happened since Happy Days. And of course, we had Robert Hayes on the show, we had Leslie Nielsen on the show, and we had David Zucker all on the show. And they told us so many bits and pieces. The Hayes role, the Robert Hayes role, Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker wanted David Letterman for that role. And as a matter of fact, David Letterman did a screen test for it, and I have it. Almost nobody has seen it. It's in my archives in the basement somewhere. I haven't found it yet. I will find it, and I will post it. But David Letterman did the hospital scene there with Ethel Merman. He did that scene in the screen test. He's sitting there in a hospital there with his shirt off. It's just unbelievable. I'll find it and I'll play it for you sometime. Leslie Nielsen, we had him on the show, and one of the nicest people I've ever met. I went out to Hollywood to do the interviews for one of the Naked Gun movies. He would always bring a little fart noise toy with him, and he would do that during the interview. He was a character. The Lloyd Bridges and Robert Stack roles, when they gave them the scripts, they were like, no, you want comedic actors for this. You want like Dom DeLuise or something, because these guys didn't really get it. Peter Graves thought that the movie was, what did he say, tasteless trash. And Lloyd Bridges' kids, Jeff Bridges and Bo Bridges, were the ones who talked Lloyd Bridges into doing the movie because he wasn't going to do it. So the whole thing basically based on a 1957 movie called 0 Hour, which David Zucker told me he characterized it as unintentionally funny. And they basically bought the rights to that movie. They bought the script, and then they used that as the template for the movie and then stuck all the jokes in as they went. A lot of funny behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, when you're making a movie, they have what are called dailies or rushes. And all the stuff that is shot that day, the smartasses from the movie studios sit in a little room and they watch what you shot that day, and they weren't getting it either. And they were sending them notes all the time going, do this, do that. So they originally, because it was based on a 1957 movie, the airplane, when they would show the airplane flying, it was a prop plane. And one of the guys from the studio said, you can't have a prop plane, it's 1980 for God's sakes. So they changed it into a jet, but just to be smartasses, they left the propeller noise stuff. When you watch the movie, you see a jet, because the guy from the studio insisted on it, but it's propeller noise instead. That's like the funniest thing ever. By the way, Zucker, Abrams, Zucker, even though there were a lot of the actors were in the sequel, Airplane 2, they didn't have anything to do with that. They were not interested in doing the sequel. So anyhow, today, July 2nd, 1980, the 30th anniversary of the release of the motion picture Airplane, and for that we say thank you. One of the greatest movies ever made. All right, what do we got here? We're going to have all new features for you next week. JC's Video Village is up right now, and that is the Planet Hollywood grand opening from back in 1998. You can watch that. JC's Wayback Machine is an old Channel 4 promo they actually did a pretty good job with. JC's Eye Candy today is all the graphics and all the pictures that we talked about in that 101 ESPN story. You look at it and you tell me if I'm crazy. All right, enjoy the holiday. We're going to be off on Monday. We have all new stuff for you when we come back on Tuesday. Happy birthday to Triple C. All right, have yourself a great 4th of July weekend. I'm JC. That's your Daily Dose. And in the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.